the president testing positive for COVID, how could this potentially affect the election?
Well, this really puts the exclamation point on crazy for this particular campaign. You know, we've talked about past history of October surprises. This perhaps is the greatest October surprise of all time, because what this will do is now cut the campaign basically in half with the 30 some odd days that are left if he indeed quarantines. So we may see for the first time in our history campaign by Twitter. And so it will be a different aspect than it would be getting out amongst the people. So we'll see how this plays out.
President Trump had to cancel a campaign rally in Sanford that was scheduled for today. I would imagine over the next 32 days, he had planned to visit Florida quite a bit. As you've told us before, Florida really is the key to his reelection. How does he get to the Florida voters now?
Well, where else this hurts is we know that he really lags behind in fundraising, that the Biden campaign is so far out ahead in fundraising that they're going to able to really dominate the airwaves as far as the commercials and advertisements are concerned. So in the past, Donald Trump has been a master of basically earned media, getting free media, because he comes in and does the rallies and he does other things that bring attention to him. It changes the whole complexion of that. And in Florida, such a big state trying to reach so many media markets, the campaign's going to have to take a step back and reevaluate how they go forward.
Could he do virtual campaign rallies, like have people show up, maybe have one of his family members hosting the rally, and then use like a virtual screen to rev up the voters?
That is possible, but how do we know whether the rallies will be like he's been holding lately, or whether it will be like the Tulsa rally now, where people are a little more skeptical of showing up because they know that this virus is real? I mean, this will hit home with the Trump supporters in some capacity, that this isn't just a virus that comes and goes, but that it is truly a real thing. So if they do show up, will they start wearing masks more? Will they do more social distancing? What will be the effects of that? And I think the Trump campaign has to evaluate all that today.
How should the Biden-Harris campaign respond to all of this?
I think the way he already has responded today, you know, that their thoughts and prayers are with the first family and that they hope for a speedy recovery. But the bottom line is what the Biden campaign's message has been consistently is to wear masks, social distance, and to be cautious as you move forward. And so that message is going to resonate more now because of Trump getting the virus. Remember, the president and the vice president, just as recently as yesterday, had said, we've turned the corner on the virus. It's going away. This now puts that message on hold because now it's back front and center and he can't run away from the virus and what it means not only to him and his family, but to the American public as a whole.
Say, and I'm going to give you a scenario. Say the president gets through COVID, is either asymptomatic or has very mild symptoms. Does that bode well for him in a couple of weeks, as he's been saying that it's a very mild for most people?
The problem with this is that voting is already occurring. And so even if he comes out of this somewhat unscathed, yes, he can play to the Americans' emotion. He will try to say, see, I'm strong. I can defeat this virus, and so can you. But the problem is that it's going to take a period of time for him to get into that situation. And meantime, Americans are voting by the thousands.
What about the people already on Twitter pushing out conspiracy theories that he is making this up to detract attention from things like his taxes and things like that?
Well, I've got to tell you, the American public has got to be thinking, oh my goodness, this is a blur now as far as issues are concerned, because we have seen a litany of issues and changed issues almost on a daily basis. from the Supreme Court nominee all the way to the idea that he had a horrible debate the other night, to his using of white supremacy and not denouncing white supremacy, to now testing positive for COVID. American voters have got to be bewildered by this whole process and the issues that change so rapidly with them. But the bottom line is the Biden campaign has tried to keep the focus on COVID. And now that the president has gotten COVID, that will stay front and center. That, along with the other critical issue of healthcare, because with the president fighting healthcare in the Supreme Court and with the new justice potentially coming in and taking away pre-existing conditions, this does not bode well for the president, even if he comes out of the virus saying we're stronger and we can defeat the virus just like we can defeat Joe Biden. The other question mark I would raise on how the Trump campaign and really how the Trumpsters are going to react to this. Will they now start putting the blame on China, which will distract from putting the blame on Biden? And what does this mean internationally with policy and other things if they put all their anger towards China, saying this was China's fault, that we're not going to be able to elect the president we want? What will be the rabid response of the Trumpsters as far as that's concerned?
Do you think that this could have an effect on the voters right now, or do you think most voters are already decided?
Most voters are already decided, as I've already shared the litany of issues that we've been going over in just the last week, from nominating a Supreme Court justice to a horrible debate to the idea that he has not denounced white supremacy to now COVID. The voters are pretty well stuck where they are. Anyone that's undecided, it could tip again the way of Joe Biden, simply because they can say now the president's message of we're over the hump with the virus is not true. Just one more lie in the process may switch, especially some of these suburban women that are very important, and the senior citizens here in Florida, which are extremely important to Florida, to the idea of truth over lies, which is part of what the Biden campaign has been trying to say. It could shift some of the last few leaning undecided voters into the Biden camp.